Welcome, my friends. I'm Don Romeo, and welcome to our exploration of a remarkable narrative from the Old Testament. The story we're going to unpack today is from 2 Kings chapter 5, and it centers around a fascinating character named Naaman. Naaman wasn't just an ordinary man. He was the distinguished commander of the armies of Ben-Hadad II, the king of Aram Damascus. His leadership and martial prowess had delivered his people from the defeat time and time again. Despite his high status and great victories, however, Naaman lived with the burden of leprosy, a dreaded disease that brought both physical suffering and social stigma. The plot thickens when we learn about a young servant girl from Israel who lived in Naaman's household. She held on to a nugget of hope for Naaman, sharing that there was a prophet in her homeland who could potentially bring about a cure for his affliction. Encouraged by this possibility, Naaman obtained a letter from his king to King Joram of Israel, seeking healing, and was sent on a journey into the unfamiliar lands of Israel. Elisha, a prophet of God in Israel, played a pivotal role in our story. When he heard of Naaman's situation, he instructed him to bathe in the Jordan River 7 times. It's important to understand that Naaman, a man of non-Jewish faith, might have been expecting some grand mystical ritual for his healing. Elisha's advice, therefore, came across as overly simplistic and somewhat unimpressive to him. Nevertheless, at the urging of his servants, Naaman chose to set aside his preconceived notions and follow the prophet's advice. And lo and behold, he was healed. His skin was restored as though he was a young child. This moment was not only a physical transformation, but a spiritual awakening for Naaman. This story from the Old Testament finds a beautiful echo in the New Testament. Jesus Christ himself makes reference to Naaman in Luke 4:27, stating, "And there were many in Israel with leprosy in the time of Elisha the prophet, yet none of them was cleansed, only Naaman the Syrian." This passage underscores the significance of Naaman's faith and humility in the grand narrative of God's redemption and redemptive work. Naaman's story holds a mirror to our lives in many ways. Like Naaman, we may sometimes find ourselves in positions of influence and power. And yet, just as Naaman's status couldn't rid him of his affliction, our achievements and social standing can't save us from our own struggles. It's not our status, wealth, or power that brings us closer to God. Instead, it's our faith, our humility, and our willingness to submit to God's wisdom. Even when it seems counterintuitive to our human understanding, in our world today, which often seems to value appearances and status over humility and faith, we might find ourselves waiting for grand gestures from God, when his solutions may come in simple, seemingly mundane forms. This is where we must learn from Naaman's story, remembering to trust in God's wisdom and follow his guidance, irrespective of how it is presented to us. In the light of Naaman's transformative journey, we are called upon to take action in our own lives, just as Naaman had stepped into the Jordan River to receive his healing. We too must take that first step of faith, no matter how uncertain or illogical it may seem. So here's our challenge, friends. This week, identify one area in your life where you feel the need for healing or transformation. It could be a personal struggle, a strained relationship, a career challenge, or a spiritual hurdle. Then, commit to taking that step of faith, just as Naaman did. Let's trust in God's wisdom and guidance, even if it doesn't align with our expectations or understanding. Remember, transformation begins with a single step of faith, a step of humility, a step of obedience. And just as the waters of the Jordan River washed Naaman clean, God's grace can wash away our afflictions, our doubts, our fears, and bring about the healing and transformation that we seek. Let's step into the river together, friends, trusting in God's promise of healing and renewal. Let's embrace the faith and humility demonstrated by Naaman, trusting in God's wisdom above our own. Let's embark on this journey in faith, knowing that with God by our side, we are capable of experiencing miracles on our own lives. So, are you going to take the challenge? Are you going to step into your own Jordan River this week, ready to be transformed by God's healing touch? Remember, God's grace is always sufficient, and his power is made perfect in our weakness. As we walk in faith, humility, and obedience, let us prepare ourselves for the miraculous transformation that awaits us. Now, thank you for joining us today, and may God's peace and blessings be upon you as you embrace this journey of faith. Until next time, stay blessed, stay strong, and remember, with God, all things are possible.